Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in, welcome in. We got Sleepy Bun in, Cemetery Girl is in, Soul Seeker is in. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Let's start tapping that screen, sharing the live. Welcome in, Authority. We got Fenton, Michelle on over on YouTube. We got Knight in the house. Eddie's in the house. The Ordnance King is in the house. Welcome in. Welcome in. See if we get in some good debates tonight. Bad Religion, welcome in. Pete, welcome in. Fen, welcome in. Oh, did Joel just end? I wasn't sure when Joel was gonna end. Um, Hello, Tiny Skittles. Start tapping that screen, sharing the live. Is it so much easier on TikTok, Michelle? As a matter of fact, that's something I was going to do earlier, and then I got completely sidetracked. I was going to take a look at my analytics on YouTube to see where I'm at for my analytics, so we can figure out how many more watch hours we need. We're over 2,000 watch hours, so I'm down to we're 2.1 thousand. So hopefully by the end of tonight and tomorrow, we'll have the watch hours to start accepting super chats over on YouTube. Gonna get Hanji on up here. Yes, I have read the
The
contradictions. Hello, Hanji.
Hey there, it's doing the thing again, not showing me the request thing, and it. Ugh.
It does. So it does that when Jaren's live too. Um, like when Jaren is live, I can't even at whoever's in the box. Like I click their name and it just shows me the gift gallery, but it doesn't show their
Yep,
name above it.
yep. I've been having the same issue. Is it because you guys are doing streaming from the laptop? Maybe because when you guys are on your phones, no issues. But
It
when you
probably
use the
is.
mm,
It probably is. Thank you for the hat and mustache. And yes, T Rock, absolutely. There is a contradiction with Judas and his unaliving. In the Gospels, it tells us that he took his money, and then once he saw what happened to Jesus, he took the money, threw it in the temple, said, well, he tried to give it to the priests. They said, that's blood money, we can't have it. So he threw it on the floor and ran away and hung himself. But then in Acts chapter 1, it's talking about they replace him. And while they are replacing him with Matthias, it mentions they're kind of giving a history of him, and they kind of talk about how his betrayal was prophesied about. Which, meaning, if it was prophesied about, then did Judas even have a choice? Like, if Jesus was the Messiah, did Judas even have a choice? But it does also state, though, that he took the money, the money of his iniquity or the money of his wickedness. Depending on the translation, it says something to those effects. And he bought the field, and then he fell headlong on it. So welcome in, Joel Raid. Welcome in. I appreciate each and every one of you coming on in. Uh, Dyslexia Jones. I was definitely watching Joel's last the person he just had up, and that person definitely is a POSFF. 100% piece of shit frack face. Almost forgot I was on YouTube there.
It always happens to us the first 20 minutes.
But yes, so Miss Michelle La Paquette. I always, hopefully, I'm spelling that right. But thank you for absolutely smashing these goals. I sincerely appreciate it. But let's
Thank
see
you
if we can
guys for
get
the
some.
gifts. Thank you so much.
Yep. And also, don't forget to follow Hanji. Check both of our profiles. I have a link tree. I think Hanji has a link tree. Hello, Twisted Scriptures. Check our
I
link
do, I
trees
do.
if you want to support us and not pay TikTok. You can support us through our Cash Apps and our Venmos and any other payment methods that we have listed within our link tree.
And
When
I
we
also
see,
have YouTube linked in my link tree as well for my YouTube. I haven't posted
yes,
anything yet, but it's there.
yes, and if you do send anything via Venmo, Cash App in between guests, we will stop and read them in between guests. I will. I don't have PayPal, unfortunately. PayPal has my legal names on it, so no PayPal. Although I wish we could do PayPal. I wish PayPal would let you change your name.
It won't. I've tried because me
Mm-hmm.
too. PayPal is more for family, personal, because personal information.
Yep. And also, let me get that up. I thought I was missing something. Let me get that brought up as well. So, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and click the link. If you're on YouTube, click the link and we can bring you up on Video Ninja. And we would love to, well, Hanji won't be able to hear you or anything, but I would love to chat with you on Video Ninja, have a discussion and open dialogue there. Um, so some of you may remember a few nights ago we had oh, I'm trying to remember what his name was.
Is it
Anyways,
the guy with
he
the aliens?
no. It wasn't that guy. So it was a guy who had mentioned about debating whether or not Matthew was written in the second century. Um, so he offered to debate me, and I'm like, yeah, we could talk, blah blah. So he messaged me. He messaged me on YouTube, double checking. Well, first of all, a couple things here. First thing is on his page, he added me, and then said this guy believes that Matthew was written in the mid second century. I want to debate him. I'm calling him out openly to debate him. Boom, boom, boom. And then yesterday, message saying, "Hey, so you want to do this debate?" So I accepted the debate. I did state that if we do it, I want to do it over TikTok with Controversial Compass. So do it over Controversial Compass on one of their weekends of debates. So
Sorry,
hopefully
Saber,
we,
you look like you took a screenshot. You froze for a second.
yeah, it does that. We kind of have a bit of storminess going here, so the internet might be acting wonky. Um, but he wants, so I accepted, but I said, but I want to do it over TikTok with Controversial Compass, Mr. Coco. He does these weekends. I'm waiting for him to respond. I don't think he has TikTok, but I do have a third backup that I never use. So what I would probably do is if he accepted, but he's like, hey, I don't have a TikTok, I'd probably give him access to that TikTok because I never use it for anything, anyways. I'd probably give him access to that for the purpose of the debate. I would let him do some changes on it so it's his profile for that to represent him. But it'd be on whether or not Matthew, the book of Matthew, was written in the mid second century. But what I will say, and maybe he's on YouTube watching Twitchy Theologian. That's his name. Twitchy Theologian. That was his name. Um, if but if he is watching, he just needs to know that he called me out like publicly for something that we probably could have talked about a little bit privately, because I don't think he understands how stilometry works. I don't think he understands these new things. He's just basing things off dogma. And if I remember correctly, he has a belief that it was like written in the 30s or 40s, which is not even anywhere near the scholarly consensus. So if this debate is accepted, it is going to be, well, at least during the cross examination. I can't do nothing during the 5 minute opener or however long the opener is. But once it turns into the cross examination, I am going to turn it into an absolute frickin', almost said it again, frickin' blood sport. So it'll be an absolute blood sport. He is going to get frickin' bodied. His hip is going to be broken in like 5 different ways. He will delete his YouTube channel. So I said it. So over there on YouTube, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for being here. Tap that screen, share the live. If you want to join from over on YouTube, go ahead and click the link up here. It'll take you to Video Ninja. I can absolutely accept you up once you're over there, and we can certainly debate. Do I believe in Joe
Oh,
Hendry? Only on days that end in Y. Yes, Hanji.
uh, I was going to tell you, for right now, I did talk to Rolly. I don't know if you got the message. Um, she is taking a complete mental break from the platform for a while. Um, so with that being said, uh, she's going to take some time. So I will be doing everything from here on out. I told her that, Discord is always open. Um, so that way, because her mental health is
Mm-hmm.
important. We
Oh,
know how these
absolutely.
conversations can get.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that being said, just positive vibes for Rolly, and may her resting bring her the peace and clarity that she needs.
Yep. And for those that are in here, if you aren't following me on YouTube, go over to YouTube real quick. Give me a follow over there. It would mean so much to me. I'm trying to get to 1,000 followers. Oh, excuse me. Trying to get to 1,000 followers over there. And yeah, let's put some get well soon rollies on both YouTube and TikTok. Well, Cody Krill over on YouTube said, if he's such a monster, then why would he sacrifice his only son so that the world may be saved? He offers salvation and love, but he's also just what he gives, what he can take. But the question is, right? So here's the question. Whenever people are like, as for those who were in Joel's live earlier, whenever you hear the thing of like the wage of sin is death, God gave his only begotten son, look how great and wonderful he is. Who set those conditions? We need to remember God set the condition. God is the one who said that the wage of sin is death. God, being all powerful, quite literally could have made the wage of sin anything else he wanted it to be. It literally could have been plant so many acres in a field and then donate it to the poor. That could have been the wage of sin. But no, God set the conditions to make it death. And he's the one who chose to come down to impregnate his own mother, to send himself down, to sacrifice himself to himself to save us from the conditions that he himself set. So it's just goofy when you say he sent his only son. It's just goofy. God set those conditions. How you doing, Mateo? And Mateo, do you believe in the moon spaceship that we found out about last night?
Mateo Potato, you are live and on the air.
I feel like I need to get a recording of Jaren saying that. I could just play it as a sound clip.
Hey,
Shalom,
Charlies.
Charlies. Shalom. Yes, yes, Tenebris over on YouTube. While crying to himself, why have I forsaken myself? Absolutely. Absolutely. And you also have to ask yourself, what kind of loony prays to himself? Sounds like the guy was just having a
A
midlife
self-righteous
crisis.
egotic a self-righteous, egotistical, narcissistic maniac.
Yep. And again, people that are over there on YouTube doing the whining, you can come on over. Come over. There's a link up there. Click it. Let's talk about it. Uh, KTTA. I don't know how to pronounce that. What do you mean? Are you against God? Question mark. No, I'm not against God. God doesn't exist. I can't be against something that doesn't exist.
I promise I didn't leave any marks.
Oh, AI over on YouTube is absolutely crashing out. Crappy Patty, bro, for you to have seen us in 3 chats, you must have been there yourself. If you're so confident on your atheism, why you here? Go pray to your nothing. Yeah, because we don't pray. Even under the Christian worldview, prayer is just goofy. It's goofy.
Oh, sweet summer child. You see, that's not how any of this works.
It's absolutely not how any of this works. But AI, I think we've talked once before. You know how it works. Hop in the box. Let's chat about it. All right, we're gonna bring up our first guest for the evening.
Yo, what up?
Hello, I'm Gailja. Can we please get your age for the TikTok TOS?
I'm 31.
All right, then are you a believer of the Abrahamic deity?
Yeah, it's a real deity.
That's nice, but that wasn't my question. But my question that I do have for you is, why is God the sick monster?
I don't know. Am I supposed to agree with it or disagree?
Well, do you believe that God's a sick monster?
That's assuming that God is a person, which is forbidden by Judaism.
Are you Jewish?
Or, I mean, Judaism, Christianity, etc.
Well, what we mean by God is like a mind that created, like a supernatural mind that created everything. And the reason why I would say that God's a sick monster is because he commanded genocide.
Yep, I agree.
And do you think that he was justified in committing the genocide of the Amalekites?
I mean, once again, that's assuming that God is like a man in the sky. which is forbidden in the Jewish religion.
So are
So
you
like,
Jewish?
do I have to be Jewish to like have an opinion on it?
Well, you keep saying according to the Jewish religion.
Yeah, the Jewish religion plural.
Jewish. What do you mean by Jewish plural or Jewish religion plural?
Yeah, like Abrahamic faiths.
Oh, you
You
think
could probably
Christianity? Do you think Christianity was started by a bunch of Jews?
Christianity was originally a Jewish sect.
Oh, can you name any Jewish church father?
I mean, once again, you're like separating like race from religion there. So like, I
Yeah, I
mean,
want you to let me
really
know if
just
there's I want you to let me know if there were any ethnically Jewish church fathers. Go ahead, name one.
oh man, there's tons of them, tons
Yeah,
of
name
them.
one. Yeah, go name one.
Just go name one, then come back when I find it.
Well, no, you can go ahead and swipe out the app and go find one.
Okay, so what's the point that you're trying to make?
Oh, I'm just saying that Christianity did not start as an off branch of Judaism. There's no evidence of that.
So then, where did it come from?
Probably from Turkey. That's what the
It's
evidence
probably
seems to
from
point to.
Turkey.
Yeah, the
Uh,
earliest gospel we have is Evangelion when we look at stylometric analysis, written by Marcion of Sinope. So it probably seemed to have started in Sinope.
yeah,
In
dude, you're
fact,
literally fucking retarded, dude.
uh,
Oh, but yet you're
yeah, but
sitting up here talking about his people like you know what the Jewish people believe in when you have two of them right here.
oh, Mateo
Well,
just
Mateo
Okay,
just
well,
left, but
okay, well, I get it that you're anti like Jesus. Okay, still,
Jesus isn't the
Mhm.
topic here. And
Yeah, Jesus
according
isn't
to
the
actual
topic.
historical evidence, yes, Yahweh of the Christian Bible is Turkish.
And I do need to just say something. If you do slur again on the live, you will be dropped. So I don't know if I'd say Turkish though. That was so when we mean Turkish, we mean like once the Ottomans took over. This is before the Ottomans, so I wouldn't say
Yes.
Turkish. It's before that. But yeah. So what's your evidence of God even existing?
I thought you said you were Jewish.
He
I'm
is Jewish.
atheist. I'm ethnically Jewish. Religiously atheist.
Okay, what about the other girl? She's atheist too.
I'm not
No.
atheist, no. But I was never Christian or Orthodox either.
Yeah, and that's irrelevant to the point. You're just dodging now. You got the 5 Ds of dodge debate. So can you just go ahead and just answer the question, why is God a sick fuck?
Why is he or why isn't he?
Why is God a sick fuck?
I mean, once again, that's like just that's. I mean, if you let, all right, just for the sake of answering the question, I'll assume that it's a man in the sky.
So hold on, what's your definition of God? Let's maybe start there. What's your definition of God?
Man, I mean, that's a tough one there. That's a tough one. If I had to try, I don't even think there's a short answer to that question. But if I
Well,
had to
is
try to
it is
sum
it
it up,
was it fair to say that God is a supernatural mind that created everything that maintains the omni properties?
no, I think that like it's like you could break matter down into atoms and like then you can like break it even down even further into quarks and like they're starting to break it down to like the material that's in between like the protons and electrons, which is called
Mm-hmm.
like dark matter. And
Well,
like
that's
it's
not what
all
dark.
of that.
Hold on, that's not what dark matter is. Dark matter has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so then what's in between the atoms?
Oh, I have no idea. I'm not a physicist.
That's what I'm saying. That's what
It's
I'm
not dark
saying.
matter though. You don't even know what dark matter is. Next thing you go know, you're gonna think it's
No,
dark
dark.
energy.
I think it's dark energy.
It's
Yeah.
not dark. You know what dark energy is?
been a
you,
while
you
since I read it.
yeah, so the Big Bang is still happening today, and the universe is expanding due to dark energy. Dark energy is causing the expansion. Um,
So there was dark energy.
yeah, it's just a force that's expanding the universe. But anyways, I don't think you have any idea what you're talking about. I think once you tapped the
But
guest
like
request,
God is the entire
I
universe.
think you
God is the entire universe.
does he have a mind?
Is the universe conscious? No, I think that like just people are the
Did
ones that
God
are
write?
six fucked.
Did God influence the Bible?
Did God influence the Bible?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, so God does have a mind then.
No, people have minds
Oh, so how did God influence the Bible if he doesn't have a mind?
because God is everything. It's all around us. It's the entire universe. It's all of existence. That's what God is.
And what's your evidence for that?
I mean, what's your evidence I mean, how can you disprove it?
Yeah, do you believe that God created like time in the universe? Do you believe God created it?
Man created time. Time isn't real.
Time,
I think it was
yeah.
Aristotle who said that if
No,
time doesn't exist, then nothing is a
well, I don't care what
coincidence.
Aristotle said. I don't care what Aristotle said. I know that when we look at like
Okay, that's Aristotle's not a valid source. All right,
no, I wouldn't say
going forward.
not when it comes to science. Not when it comes to science. Maybe when it comes to philosophy, sure, we could take Aristotle as a source for philosophy. But not for science. We would need a
Cyber, go
scientist
ahead
for
and
that.
make a new
Oh,
goal, darling.
yep.
Thank you, Dugald.
So
I didn't see that.
no, Dugald, absolutely, or whoever's been smashing these goals, Miss Michelle, Risa, thank you so much for smashing these goals. So again, I'll ask you for like
No,
a
so
third
how
time
can you
now.
disprove it? And then how can you disprove it? And then what'd you say after that?
Yeah. So what I asked you was, do you believe that God created the universe?
I don't know, and I don't think anybody knows.
Oh. So yeah, so if it is the case that you don't know, so you just have to be agnostic on everything then. If you don't know, then you just need to be agnostic on everything, which would just mean that I can give you any premise, any stance, and it would just go through and you would just auto lose the debate.
Well, you can't prove anything though. Just the
Yeah, I
way
would
that I
say
can't prove,
I
the way
would
that
say
I
that
can't
time is
prove
just
that.
always I would say that creation can't happen unless time already existed. And so
And
we
how?
can go
I
the
mean, you can't prove or disprove God's existence.
Sure, I can.
Otherwise,
I'm about to give you a syllogism.
okay. So you're about to show evidence. Like
Yeah,
people can show evidence that God is real, but it doesn't necessarily prove it. All right, go ahead.
yeah. Unless you have an argument to defeat it, unless you have a defeater, then you lose the debate. That's how debate works. Unless you don't know how
Okay,
debate
but
works.
yeah, I mean, so you just win if you're smarter than the other person, or like
Yeah, and you're pretty dumb right
you
now.
just
So yeah, I'm about to
you just
auto
make
win
them look
this.
dumb.
Yep, you
Okay,
are absolute. I don't have to make you look dumb. You're doing that perfectly well.
all right.
You're
So
all
tell
by
me what you were
yourself.
gonna say.
All by yourself.
Tell me what you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, do you believe that everything in existence had to be created?
Um, I don't think that
That's a yes or no, my dude. That's a yes or no. If you say no, then you can give me
yeah,
an
I would say
argument for
no.
why
Yeah,
it's
I would say
no.
no.
Okay,
Yeah, I
then
would
give me a
say
yes
no.
or no. It's a yes or no, my dude. These are
I
premises.
mean,
You either
that's
agree with it or you disagree.
yeah. Yeah, no, I would
Okay.
say like no, not doesn't necessarily have to be created, especially not by like some kind of entity.
Well, no. The question is, does everything in existence, or is everything in existence have a creator?
Like, what would that creator look like? You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter what the creator looks like. It just matters, does a creator exist to create something?
No, no. I mean, So once again, that's like assuming that God is like some type of individual.
Yeah, so give me an argument of anything, how creation can exist without a creator. Can you give me an argument for that, Ben? You
Wait,
said
I just
Nicole,
no.
said
for
that I
hitting
just
another
said that it
life.
doesn't have
Oh,
to be created.
wait, say that again.
That it doesn't have to be a creator.
Oh, why doesn't there have to be a creator? Give me that argument.
Well, I said no. There doesn't have to be a creator.
Yeah, I heard what you said. I'm asking for your argument for your claim. You made a claim there doesn't have to be a creator.
Okay,
What's
so
your argument for
what's
that?
your counter argument?
Well,
You know,
no,
like
you
what are
have to
you
get.
trying to prove here?
No, I'm rejecting
What are
your
you?
premise, so you have to give me your argument for it. Just giving me
Okay,
a proposition like there doesn't
what
have
was
to
the
be a
premise?
creator, huh?
Yeah, there. That was just me answering your question.
Yeah, and I'm asking if you're going to say there doesn't need to be a creator, you need to give me your argument. That's your conclusion. I need your argument for the conclusion of there doesn't need to be a creator. What's your argument for that?
Okay, what's your argument for there does have to be a creator?
Yeah, we're contending the first premise, right? So I gave you a premise. I said everything in existence has a creator, and you said you disagree with that. So now I need your argument for why you disagree with it.
Because nobody knows even how big the universe is.
What does
Nobody
that have to
even
do?
knows
What does that have to do
if
with
there's
something
something.
needing a
Maybe
creator?
there's something.
What
Maybe
does that have to
there's
do with
something
their
bigger
needing?
than the
I'm so
universe.
sorry, but what does that have to do with their needing to be a creator? What does the size of something have to do with whether or not it had a creator or not?
Because you just don't even know at that point, and you'll like we'll never know.
Well, the size of something doesn't matter if it has a creator or
It's
not. That
just
the
an
size of
endless
it's
debate.
irrelevant.
It's just an endless debate. Like because debates are times like you might be a winner, but it doesn't actually make you a winner.
It does
Is
because
it?
you're so
It
concussed right
doesn't.
now.
It's
You
like
don't know where you're at. You're just lost. Like blow some bubbles, like blow some air out and follow the bubbles up and take a breath.
yeah. So you're just insulting.
I am insulting you because you're pretty pathetic in this debate right now. Before you hop on a debate space, go read some philosophy books. Go do some studying about how a debate works. Like if you're
You,
going to
you
make a
never even
claim,
you never even said whether you think you never even went going back to the original
mhm,
question. Why
yeah,
is God a sick monster? You never even said what your stance on the freaking topic was.
yeah, because we're in the process right now of figuring out whether or not God even exists because of some claims
There's
that
no
you made.
counter debate. All that I'm doing, there's you have no argument.
I do have an
You're just
argument.
trying to you're just bashing people's arguments. How do I know whether
That's
you
how
even
debate. That's what
agree or
debate is,
disagree?
my dude. That's what debate is. I'm gonna
So you
bash the
could just
fuck
come
out of
up
your
here.
arguments. You're
Yeah,
getting
so I
bodied
can
right
come up
now.
here
Do you think
and
you look? Do you
I
think
can
you
come
look
up
good
here and
right now?
agree or disagree, and you're just gonna disagree.
Well, yeah. If you agree to
Yeah.
disagree, that means you don't have an argument, right? That's a forfeiture.
Okay. No. So like, what is your argument?
Well, first
Like,
of all,
I
why is
before
gave
we,
it
God a
to
sick?
you.
yeah. So before we can move
Well,
on,
you
because
literally have it. You literally
well,
have
you
it. Going
said,
back to the original topic, why is God a sick monster?
well, so what did you
Yeah.
say when I went
What's
to?
your stance on that?
Yeah, I went to say something, and what was your response to that when I went to give a thing? What did you say about God? That you don't believe that God is like this man in the sky, right? So now we need to define what your God is, right? And you tried to say that your God is like everything, right? And so now I'm setting out to disprove your God doesn't even exist.
We agree with the prompts though.
What, that God's a sick fuck?
Yes.
No, you disagreed with it. You
No,
said
I agree
no.
with that.
No, you
I agree.
disagreed. You disagreed because you said that he can't be a sick fuck because he's not a man in the sky. So you disagreed with it, and now we're arguing whether or not God exists or not. But hey, I'm going to go ahead and drop you. Come on back when you get some better debate points. Hanji, can you bring up the next guest, please?
Darling, I told you my stuff is glitching out. I can't bring up nobody. I can't mute nobody. I
Oh.
couldn't even bring my own ass.
No, I kicked him. I kicked him. He definitely did not run. Make that clear. He did not run. I kicked him.
Also, how can you quote Aristotle and not even know how debate functions, especially when it comes to presuppositions? But with that being said, Dugald, thank you so much for sending host the bear and me the Christocrat. I know I have to have my camera on to see it, but I appreciate it. And also thank you for being a first-time subscriber. Win. Also, thank you, La Paquette, for helping host reach that new goal. So, Cyber, can you change
Yeah,
your
I'll,
goal,
yeah,
please?
I'll get it reset. I'm trying to get again when I run OBS with this. My TikTok guest box acts weird. It's annoying. It's quite annoying.
I concur, darling.
Open up. Like I click it. Let me set this new goal. I can do the goals just fine. The goals work just fine. Oh, you know what I need to do? I'm gonna need to go. I'm gonna go overclock my computer again real quick. Gonna go. I keep forgetting to set my computer up for overclocking for this because I'm on a laptop, so I gotta overclock it. Let me get that set up really quick. It'll take just a moment. So you really can't get into the guest requests at all?
No. I'll send you a screenshot. Hold on.
See that shouldn't I you've never had problems with that before. I think that's a TikTok did have an update today, but I think that's a problem on your end because we've never had that problem before, and I've been on this for the last few months, so that's a problem on your part, Hanji. I think you need to go update your app. All right, and we're gonna bring
I
up.
updated it already. There is no update for me. And it does the same thing with Jaren, too.
All right, bringing up this next guest, and I'm just leaving the guest box set over there.
All right,
Hey, what?
Eric, can we have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Oh, I'm 33.
All right, and are you a believer in the Abrahamic deity?
Oh no, I'm just here to say that you kicked that last dude. You was not beating him, and you made yourself look like an idiot, bro.
Yeah, he couldn't answer any questions. He didn't even know
No,
the question he was asking.
you're
He
argumentative. You're kind of a dweeb, bro.
No, that's how debates work. Do you not know how debates
No,
work? It's
you're
all
a
about being
master
argumentative.
debater. You know what I'm saying? No, you just did.
Whoop whoop. All right, we'll bring up the
Eh.
the next guest.
Hi there.
Hello.
Hi.
I cannot read the name, but guess, can we have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
I'm 18. I was born 2006.
What month?
October.
Okay, that checks out. Are you a believer in the Abrahamic deity?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell us why is God a sick monster?
I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out now. Why is he sick?
Yeah, why is he okay with slavery?
Is he?
He is. Have you not read the Old Testament and the New Testament?
What, you mean the slavery of the Hebrews? I thought he delivered them.
No. No, we're talking about the slavery that he allowed and commanded after the Exodus.
What slaves are those?
The people of the other nations. Would you like to read where he actually commands slavery?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we'll bring this up. So, are you familiar with the laws in Deuteronomy?
No.
All right. So, in Deuteronomy is the last set of laws that Moses received before they entered the promised land, right? So they received most of the laws on Mount Sinai, and then they're about to go into the promised land. So as they're getting ready to enter, God gives them a last set of laws, and this is how they're to conduct themselves once they go into the promised land. And right here in verse 10, we will read, so this is Deuteronomy 20, and you'll read up here in verse 10, when you draw near a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. if it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you at forced labor. So God states, hey, the only terms of peace that you're going to accept is slavery. But in verse 12, if it does not accept your terms of peace and makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, this is something that's important that we'll read here in just a little bit. You shall put all its males to the sword. You may, however, take as your plunder the women. We'll take, take as your plunder the women, the children, livestock, and everything else in the town, all its spoils. You may enjoy the spoils of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you.
Battle against thine enemies, and seest horses and chariots, and people more than thou. Be not afraid of them.
So this shows he's okay with slavery?
Can you go ahead and mute whatever you have in the background?
Audio.
So yeah, so God is, let me get this login screen taken care of. But yeah, so God quite literally is chill with slavery. He commanded it.
Why did he say this?
Because he's a sick monster.
Oh wait, why did in Deuteronomy? Why did he say it?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. Why did he say it? Why did he say it in your
I'm
opinion?
not familiar. Like, have you read Deuteronomy?
Yeah, I've read Deuteronomy. It's the last set of laws before they. Yeah, it's the last set of laws. These are the war chapters. This is a war chapter. It's how they conduct themselves in war.
Well, let me get some history behind it. Why did he say it was okay for them to do this?
Because he was chill with them owning slaves. He didn't care if they owned slaves. In fact, he wanted them to own slaves because he commands it. So it is his will that they own slaves.
Wow. All right, who were the slaves back then? Who were the slaves again?
These are the slaves of anybody. So keep in mind, this is a commandment given to the Israelites as they're entering Israel. And so as they're entering Israel, God is saying, when you go against any town, right, when you go to war against a town, right, near a town, to fight against it. So when you went to war, you would send emissaries in, and your emissaries would either talk to the king or a representative of the town, and you would either come to terms of peace. If you couldn't come to terms of peace, you'd go to war. So the terms of peace that he's saying when your emissaries go in, the terms of peace are, you guys are going to serve us at forced labor. You don't have a choice. You're going to be enslaved to us. And then it says, but if it does not accept your terms of peace, meaning the negotiations don't work and they choose to go to war against the Israelites, then they're to unalive all the men and then enslave the women and the children.
Wow. That opens up a whole new thing.
Yeah.
I can't understand. Well, that doesn't. I don't have anything to say, but what else could this prove?
God's cool with slavery. That's literally all it means.
Did he deliver the slaves in Deuteronomy? Ever?
No. In fact, what we can read is when we go over here, we even go to Leviticus, right? Leviticus is as a matter of fact, are you familiar with the 10 Commandments?
Of course.
Yeah, so 10 Commandments are found in Exodus 20. What if I was to show you that in the 10 Commandments, God's chill with slavery in the 10 Commandments?
Can you?
Yeah, we can absolutely do that. So we have here in Exodus 20, it says the 10 Commandments, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first commandment we have is right here. You shall have no other gods before me. That's one. Number two is...
That counts as slavery?
No. We'll get there. What I'm doing is I'm counting the commandments so you don't think I'm just making one up. So here is you shall have no other gods before me. That's the first commandment. The second commandment is you shall have no idols. That's the second commandment. The third commandment is you shall not make wrongful use of the name of the Lord. The fourth commandment is honor the Sabbath day. So that's the fourth commandment. The fifth commandment, honor your father and mother. Sixth commandment, you shall not murder. Seventh commandment, you shall not commit adultery. Eighth commandment, shall not steal. The ninth commandment, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. And the 10th commandment is You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, male or female slave, ox, donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. So even in the 10 Commandments, God is perfectly chill with slavery. You can own slavery or slaves. You're just not allowed to go covet your neighbor's slaves. That's their slaves. You leave their slaves alone.
Really?
Mm-hmm. You're reading it right there.
Slaves have rights? Like,
Wait,
didn't
say
they have
that again?
rights? Have they had rights?
Did the slaves have rights?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only rights that they had, and I'm glad you asked. We'll go read those. So the only rights that they had was when a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, if the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if a slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. So they had the right to have the absolute sonic rings beat out of them as long as they lived 24 hours. So they had the right to live at least 24 hours.
Oh, my fault. My thing was off. Can you read more?
Do you have a verse you have in mind?
No, not in particular. I'm not really too familiar on the Old Testament. I only read the New Testament.
Oh.
Because like we're not bound to the laws of the Old Testament, no?
Oh, yeah, you are. Let's go read it. Have you read Mark 7?
Sure.
What does Mark 7 say?
I'm not sure. Go ahead.
We'll go read it. Yeah, we'll go read it. So Mark 7, what is happening here is the Jewish people are beginning to realize that there's some issues with the law, right? We probably shouldn't be stoning people, probably shouldn't be unaliving people. Some of these laws are probably barbaric. The virginity test probably not any good. And so they start building fences around the Torah, right? This is kind of what the Talmud is today. They built fences around the Torah. If you can't touch the Torah, you can't break it. So what we have here in Mark 7 is the Pharisees have instituted hand washing, right? Before you eat, wash your hands. Before you use a dish, wash the dish. This isn't found in Torah anywhere. The Torah says nothing about washing hands or washing dishes. And the Pharisees notice that Jesus and his disciples are not washing their hands. So they go to chastise them. And it says, and so the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, this is Jesus, why do your disciples not walk according to the traditions of elders? Now, I want you to pay attention to this tradition of elders. So you're going to see a phraseology here of tradition of elders or human tradition. Through the verses we're going to read, you're going to see this popping up 7 times. But eat with defiled hands, again, because they're not washing them. He said to them, Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandments of God and hold to human tradition. Then he said to them, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandments of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must surely die. But you say that if anyone tells father or mother, whatever support you might have had from me is Corban, that is an offering to God. And real quick side note, what this Corban is if you are doing an act, breaking a law that required you to be severely punished, whether it be death or a severe beating, instead of you receiving that punishment, you just made you paid money and it was forgiven. That's all this Corban means. It's a money exchange to forgive your sins. Whatever support you might have had from me as Corban, that is an offering to God. Then you no longer permit doing anything for father or mother, thus nullifying the word of God through your traditions that you have handed on. So what's going on here is Jesus is quite literally supporting the old law. He's saying, don't do this human tradition. We have the old law for a reason. Follow the old law. If you don't follow the old law, you're nullifying the word of God.
Well,
Ivor, can you set a new gift goal, please?
I
I don't
appreciate
have
it.
any rebuttal or any counterclaim for this, but could we try reading Matthew 5:17?
Yeah, let me get this gift goal
I
over
just
here
wanted
on
to hear your thoughts
TikTok,
about
Risa.
why God is sick. It's like if I can find a rebuttal, I could go ahead and I can try to train for this or have
Yeah,
evidence.
so yeah, not a problem. So first thing we're going to have is while I'm setting this goal, what does it mean to abolish?
To be free from something completely.
Well, abolish means to get rid of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how, let's say there's a law. Let's say there's a law. Let's say the speed limit is 55 miles per hour. How do I fulfill that law?
Well, you go 55 miles an hour.
I follow the law, right? So in order to fulfill that law, I have to follow it, right? That's how I would fulfill that particular law, right?
Oh, sorry. Can you say it again?
Yeah, I said, so in order to fulfill the law, I follow the law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go to Matthew 5. Now that we've got those terms out of the way, so we'll go to Matthew 5:17. This is the Sermon on the Mount. And what is going on here is Jesus is teaching, do not think that I have come to abolish. Now remember, we agreed that abolish means to get rid of. So Jesus is saying, do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. And we agreed that fulfill means to follow, right? I'm going to follow the law. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have come not to abolish, but to fulfill. So I have come not to do away with, but to follow. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one stroke of a letter, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Now, when it says until all is accomplished, he told us what this was. He literally just told us what this was. This accomplished is until heaven and earth pass away. And do you know what's unique about heaven and earth passing away? Do you know why it's unique that he phrases it that way?
Why?
What's the very first thing? What does Genesis 1:1 say?
In the beginning, there was God created the heaven and the universe.
God created the heavens and the earth. So Jesus is quite literally saying until creation ends, right? Until creation ends, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments, there's 613 of them in total, and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. So again, even in Matthew chapter 5, he's saying follow the law.
This is all right. This is Matthew 5:17. My understanding about it is saying that he wasn't the way to do away with the Old Testament, but to hold on. Can I go back?
Yeah, I have it up here right now. It's up on your screen.
It wasn't more of a
Oh, here we go. Apologetics.com.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thanks. Internet's not working. It wasn't a way to do away with the Old Testament, but just to manufacture a new thing.
Nope,
No?
that's what Christians say to apologize it. But again, you and I agreed that abolish means to do away with, right? Abolish means get rid of it. And he says, do not think that I have come to abolish. And he explicitly says, I have come not to abolish. So he explicitly says he's not here to get rid of the old law. And you and I agreed that to follow, if I'm going to follow the speed limit, if I'm going to fulfill the speed limit, it means I'm going to follow the speed limit, right? So, but to follow, right? So that's all he's saying here is I have come not to get away, not to get rid of, but to follow. He's just here to follow the law. And all the scriptures that we read, he follows the law. You won't be able to look and find me one law that he actually broke. He didn't break Torah. Many people look at John chapter 8, 1 through 11. That's the adulterous woman. The law says that she should be stoned. But John 8, 1 through 11 doesn't pop up in any of the earliest manuscripts. The earliest manuscript that it pops up in is Codex Bazay, which is after 400 CE. It is copied actually from a 3rd century book from a priest from Syriac called Didascalia Apostolorum. In that story, it's about a priest who has a woman has come to talk to him because she has committed adultery, and the town knows about it. And she's talking. Huh? Yeah, and she's talking to this priest, and he says, "Hey, you've confessed, you feel sorry, you're forgiven. Like, you're a Christian, you're forgiven." And she responds like, "Well, if I go outside, the people will harm me because they know of my iniquity as well." So the priest goes outside and he tells everybody that's out there and says, "Hey, every single one of you have told me your secrets. So let somebody who hasn't told me their secret, who doesn't have a secret, let him stay here." And they all left. And the church fathers... No, this is a priest speaking in the book Didascalia Apostolorum. It's a 3rd century book written by a bishop in Syriac.
Well, I'm just gonna read this comment. May I?
Which comment?
Religious people are trying to justify baby sacrifice. What is dangerous cult mentality?
It is dangerous cult mentality. Absolutely. I think Christian...
Have we ever sacrificed a baby?
Huh?
We sacrifice children.
Yes. Do you not believe Jesus is God?
He's God.
Yeah,
I am the
so
Father of one.
Yeah. So when God allowed Jephthah to sacrifice his daughter, that means your God accepted child sacrifices.
When Isaac was about to sacrifice his daughter?
No, I'm talking about... Well, that one too. God did that one, and Abraham fully did it without hesitation. Abraham didn't even question it, which means you have to ask yourself, why would Abraham not even question God, right? Like, if let's say your religious leader came to you and said, "Hey, I need you to go to the store, go to the cattle store, and I need you to buy the most perfect chicken you can there, and then I need you to sacrifice it. Make sure it's perfect, though, and you need to sacrifice it." You're going to question him, aren't you?
Do I have... Well, in this metaphorical sense, do I have like a lot of faith in him? And would he never steer me wrong?
Yeah, he. As far as you're aware, this being is all perfect.
This being is all perfect.
Yeah, but you've never. Yeah, let's say it's God. Let's take away the priest. Let's say it's God. God tells you this.
If I have unwavering faith in him and he's never stood me wrong, what's the word for
So you do it. You'd sacrifice the chicken?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's take this a step further. Do you have kids?
No, I'm 18.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
Of course.
Do you have any siblings younger than you?
My little sister, she's 7.
Okay, let's say God came to you and said, "Hey, I need you to sacrifice your sister."
Does he give me an answer after this?
Well, so the question is, are you going to do it?
If it's for a good reason, I'm assuming it's for a good reason, yes.
Yeah, he just says you need to. Yeah, he just says you need to sacrifice your child. He just says, "I need you to sacrifice your child." Are you going to do it?
Yes.
Right now, are you going to do it? Hold on, let me finish this real quick. Are you going to do it with the intent of actually carrying it out, going through with it? Or are you only going to do it expecting God to intervene right as you're about to plunge the knife down?
Given how he is, I'm assuming he's going to intervene.
Oh, so you're not going to have true faith in doing it. You're going to do it expecting him to intervene. You're not going to just assume he wants a sacrifice.
Wouldn't I still have to carry it out?
Huh?
Wouldn't I still have to carry it out?
Yes. Keep in mind, Abraham. Well, then the reason why I'm saying this is Abraham was fully expected to do this sacrifice. Abraham had the knife out. Abraham was about ready to plunge it into Isaac, And then God said, stop, stop, stop. So Abraham Abraham was not anticipating God to intervene. God did intervene, but Abraham was not expecting that. Abraham was fully ready to go through with the sacrifice.
Did he have? I'm not sure. I'm not really too familiar on the Old Testament, but did he ever have? Did he have any hesitation in this? No hesitation.
It doesn't state he hesitated. He was all ready to go. He was literally about ready to plunge the knife down when God stepped in and said stop.
Did Abraham? Did Abraham ever? Did God ever steer Abraham wrong?
Well, that's not the question you asked me. The question is, has God ever steered you wrong?
Okay. Well,
Has God ever? Okay, so if God has never, in your opinion, if God has never steered you wrong, would you, if God came to you and said, "I need you," he said, I need you to sacrifice your daughter, or your sister, your 7-year-old sister, tonight, right? You're going to take her, you're going to go up into the hills, you and her are going to build an altar. Am I?
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Now you're
and I need you to build an altar, and then I need you to put her on it, and then I need you to make her a sacrifice to me. You're going to sacrifice her as a blood sacrifice to me. And that's all he tells you.
What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Would I do it? Would I not do it?
I want you to be honest. Would you do it?
I would have to.
Why do you have to? I think that makes you a sick fuck. I think that makes you a POSFF. You're a piece of shit fuck face, just like your God is a piece of shit fuck face.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! All right. I think I've got some people over in Video
Someone in
Ninja.
chat wanted to know what verse were you talking about. I believe it's the Abraham and Isaac.
Yeah, it's in Genesis. I'd have to go take a look at it. Let's look that up real fast. And as a matter of fact, we'll look it up and we'll just read it together real fast.
It is definitely sad, Jan, but at the end of the day, this is their deity. This deity can do no wrong in their eyes.
So it's Genesis 22, 1 through 19. And we're not going to read all 19 verses. We'll just skim through most of it, but we'll get this brought up. All right. So what it says here, after these things, God tested Abraham. He said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. He said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains that I shall show you. And so that's like all he said, right? All he said, take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I shall show you. Now, keep in mind, according to Genesis, Isaac was the promised son to Abraham and Sarah. They had been trying to have Isaac for a long time. Sarah was barren, wasn't able to get pregnant. Sarah felt so guilty about not being able to bear Abraham a son that she gave her servant Hagar to Abraham, and Abraham got her pregnant with Ishmael, who was Isaac's older brother. And then miraculously, Sarah got pregnant. So this is the child that like they have been wanting. This is the child that God had promised them as a couple, Abraham and Sarah. And all he says is, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, to the land of Moriah, and offer him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains I shall show you. So this is all he says. And then, so Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and his son Isaac. He cut the wood for the burnt offering, and set out and went to the place in the distance that God had shown him. On the 3rd day, Abraham looked up, saw the place far away. Then Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey. The boy and I will go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and laid it on his son Isaac, and he himself carried the fire and the knife. The 2 of them walked together. Isaac said to his father Abraham, "Father," and he said, "Here I am, my son." He said, "The fire and the wood are here, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" So Isaac had no idea what was about to take place. Isaac had no idea. Abraham said, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the 2 of them walked on together. So Abraham lies to him. When they came to the place that God had shown him, Abraham built an altar there and laid the wood in order. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. Right? Again, he bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to kill his son. Abraham was fully prepared to do this, but the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." And he said, "Here I am." He said, "Do not lay a hand on the boy or do anything for him, for I now know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." So this is what we're talking about, right? No hesitation. Abraham was ready, full stop, ready to go through with it. And let me get this gift goal real set, and then we'll go to Video Ninja. Last I looked, I had a few people in there. So let's get this gift goal reset real quick, and then we'll go to Video Ninja. And for everybody here, we currently have 123 people on TikTok watching. I currently have 122 people over on YouTube. If you like debates, if you're enjoying the show, please give it a subscription over on YouTube. It would mean so much to me. If you're here on TikTok and you have not already subscribed to me, head on over to YouTube. It's Cyber Deconstruction on YouTube. Head on over there. Give me a follow over there. It would mean so much to me. I'm currently trying to get my hours up over on YouTube so that I can start accepting super chats. And with that, we will go ahead and bring up our guest from Video Ninja. First one we'll bring up is going to be Mystics. Mystics, make sure you have a headset, some earbuds in so we don't hear you, and I got to get your link copied over here to Video Ninja over here so we can get your room brought on over. All right, you there, Mystics? Mystics, are you there?
Yes, sir.
All right. So how old are you? Yep, I can hear you.
Can you hear?
How old are you? All right. And my question for you is, oh, and are you a Christian? Oh. Well, why'd you come up here then? Oh, okay. And do you believe that Jesus is God? Nope, you there?
from.
Okay, but you don't believe he is God. Okay. So my question for you is why is God a sick fuck? 2 Corinthians 4:4. All right, we'll get this brought up.
By the way, you know, man, you're brutal, but I think it's good that you're brutal because you know a lot more than your average Christian. Unfortunately, the church kind of just like, how do I say it? They kind of just guilt trip them, and the only thing they really talk about is more Paul than actual Christ.
Well, why you quoting Paul then? This is Paul. Yep. All right. So it says, I will start at the beginning. Treasure in clay jars. Therefore, since it is by God's mercy that we are engaged in this ministry, we do not lose heart. We have renounced. Verse 4 says, in their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing clearly the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. Oh, this isn't the verse you want to go with. This isn't it. This is you're going to put yourself in a vat. Yeah. Okay. So, the question is it the will of God that we all return to him? Yeah, does God want us all to return, that not one person shall perish? So if it is the will of God that he wants us all to return to him, then we run into a contradiction here. Or we turn into a case where it's not the case that God wants everybody to return to him, because the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from clearly seeing the light of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So what this is saying, that those of us who don't believe, God doesn't want us to believe, so he has turned the light off. This doesn't help your case.
Fiber, just letting you know, some people in chat are saying that guest is hard to hear.
Well, hold on real quick. What, Hanji?
Some people in chat are saying that guest is hard to hear.
Okay, I guess you're hard to hear right now. Are you able to get some better audio? Okay. Chat, how does he sound now? Yeah, Ghost of Cody and people are saying that you sounded like you're on a mission to the moon. You're not on the moon spaceship, are
Okay.
you? Okay. Oh, I think I can hear you now. Do you have TikTok? Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move on, but come back up once you've got some better audio. All right. With that, we will go ahead and move on to Saint. Saint, are you there? Oh, sorry. I gotta keep forgetting. I gotta do this copy paste thing here. Let me get this. This is the most annoying part about video ninjas. Each guest gets their own link.
The annoying part is the fact that people who are on the panel on TikTok cannot hear them. Fucking sucks.
Right. Saint, are you there? Saint. Are you there? Oh, and they dropped. So we'll go ahead and move on to this next one. Gotta do this.
Hello.
Yep, hold on just one moment. Let me make sure we got this. Got you. Oh, I copied the wrong one.
And while host is doing that, be sure to continuously tap the screen, share out the live. Let's see if we can get host up to 50K within the next, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you. And if you want to show support, liking and sharing definitely helps. It pushes us into the algorithm. Also, the team hearts, the heart me's, and the team gifts help as well with the algorithm. Thank you all so much for your support.
All right, Andrew. You there, Andrew? All right. And how old are you? All right. And are you a Christian? All right. And do you believe that Jesus and God are one? Do you believe that Jesus is God? Saint, I'm not talking to you right now. Hold on. Okay. Nice. So yeah, so my question is, why is Jesus and God a sick fuck?
I do not believe.
Okay, what's your view on punishing wives for the sins of their husbands? No, that's fine. So yeah, what we're going to talk about is, in the Bible, what is the punishment for committing adultery for both parties, for both the man and the woman? What's the punishment? Exactly. 100% was to be put to death via stoning. Now, do you know the story of David and Bathsheba? Yeah, and can you briefly tell us a story about David meeting Bathsheba, how that happened, and what David did after he found out Bathsheba was pregnant? Mm-hmm.
On her rooftop. Now her husband was Uriah the Hittite, I believe, who was actually fighting in David's war at the time. He sent for Bathsheba, and I doing my best here. I'm not exactly.
No, you're good. You're spot on. You're spot on right now. Spot on.
Yeah. So they end up having sex, whether it was, I'm not sure on Bathsheba's part if it was willing. I'm assuming it was not. So it was probably more of a forced sexual intercourse.
I'd agree with that. I don't think a person in power, I don't think a person who is summoning you to their bed chamber, you're going to tell them no. So yeah, I'd agree with you there.
Yeah, I would agree. But yeah, so she goes back and she tells him that she's pregnant. he ends up sending for her husband and trying to convince him to sleep with her so that it would cover up this adultery on his part, on David's part. When Uriah refuses because he says it wouldn't be right for him to sleep with his wife while the other soldiers are in war,
Mm-hmm.
David arranges for him to be sent to the front lines to be killed, and yeah, basically commits adultery and then premeditated murder.
Yep. And what is David? What ought be according to the Bible? What ought be David's punishment according to the Bible? As well as Bathsheba, correct? Now Bathsheba being put to death, that would be dependent because the law states that if the adultery is consensual, then they both get stoned to death. If, however, the man grapes, and I'm going to use some funny terms here. If you're not familiar with TikTok, I'm going to be using some funny terms because of TikTok's algorithm. But if he grapes the woman, then only the man gets punished because the woman didn't do anything wrong, so she's not punished. However, what we read is that that's not what happened. And let me get this brought up here real quick. And what we're going to read is that we get this whole passage here where Nathan comes and they're talking about, I gave you your master's house, I gave you all these things, I made you king, and you despised the word of the Lord to do what is evil in his sight. You have struck down Uriah the Hittite with the sword and have taken his wife to be your wife and have killed him with the sword of the Ammonites. Now, therefore, the sword will never depart from your house, for you have despised me and have taken the wife of Uriah the Hittite to be your wife. Thus says the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house, and I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with them in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all of Israel and in broad daylight. So my question for you is, why did God cause David's wives to be raped for his sin?
Yeah, that's a question that I can't answer, not knowing the mind of God. There's a lot of very difficult, I admit, a lot of very difficult passages to get through in the Old Testament, specifically stuff about this right here. But to say why God do it, I can't answer that question.
So do you hold, and this is going to touch into a little bit of the philosopher side of you, do you hold that God's ways are higher, and because God's ways are higher, they're just, like, by technicality unknowable?
Not all of his ways. I think there is a great deal about the nature of God that can be known through both the scriptures and through personal revelation, to having a relationship with God. But there is a part that is entirely unknowable. It's just a mystery.
So what you're doing now is you, unfortunately, you have put yourself in a vat, right? So what we're going to do now is you're now just a brain in a vat. Because God's ways are higher than your ways, what he has done effectively for you is that you're just under an illusion. God gives you an illusion that some of his things are unknowable through the nature, through the scripture, through what we learn, through him sacrificing his son. But this never even happened. God never did that. He just gave you an illusion because his ways are higher than your ways and you just don't have an understanding. And so God is quite literally just lying to you. When we take the stance that we can't understand all of God, we literally put ourselves in a vat and we can't come out of it, because God's ways are higher.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So would you say then that unless the mind of God is comprehensible to a human being, then he cannot be God? or how would you, what is your argument for that point? Because I think by, I mean, the very nature of there being a God would mean that he is above and that he is incomprehensible to us. So how would you respond to that?
What's the argument that just because he is like all powerful and stuff that he's incomprehensible to us? Like give me the argument for that.
Well, I would say that as according to my belief system,
Mm-hmm.
as the creator of all things and God being omnipresent or present everywhere, all powerful, there is just fundamentally a difference in the type of being he is. And so to, I mean, he would have to be above the ability to be fully grasped by a human because he created the human. So to be on the same level as a human, that wouldn't work. So that would be, I'm not sure if I answered your question right. You can ask again if I didn't.
Well, like for example, my parents created me, right? But as I mature and stuff, I certainly know my parents, right? I have an understanding on of
Mhm.
why my parents do things and stuff like that, right? However, likewise, there are things that like I don't know about my dad, and so it could be the case that my dad just lies to me, right? And I just wouldn't know because I trust my dad, but he could be lying to me, and I just wouldn't know. Likewise, when we put in a situation where we just don't know everything about God, we don't know God's nature. When it comes to things like this, where it's pointed out where he's blatantly going against his own law, he's contradicting his own law, and our only response is instead of saying, oh, that's messed up, God is disgusting for doing that, instead of just doing that, because the reason why I could say he did this is because he's a monster, but when you turn to I don't know his ways are higher, you're just putting yourself in a vat.
Okay, I think I understand your position. So um, when you say God is a monster, what standard of morality are you using um, to define both God and his actions?
And
Like, what is the standard that would he be judged against?
So I believe that empathy is the objective standard. So empathy, so a lot of people get empathy and sympathy mixed up. Empathy is our ability. So anytime
Hmm.
we have a dialectic of any nature, anytime we have any dialectic, anytime we make decisions that may affect other people, if it's going to be rational, we should take ourselves. And what empathy is when we take ourselves and we put ourselves into the shoes of those that we're not only conversing with, but those that are going to be affected. Like, so for example, you and I are having a dialectic. If this is going to be rational and go anywhere, I have to attempt to look at things from your point of view. You have to attempt to look at things from my point of view. And that, by the very definition, is empathy. And so I believe that empathy is just transcendental and that empathy is the grounding for morality.
Okay. So what would you what would you define evil as, or do you believe? I mean, obviously, I think you would admit that some things are objectively evil, like we talked about what David did with Bathsheba and just all the bad stuff in the world. So where does evil come from according to your
So I
worldview?
would say that what I consider something that is bad is something that is unnecessarily something that causes unnecessary suffering. So that's what I would refer to it as. For example, when it comes to sleeping with Bathsheba, if David was being rational in that and not just acting on emotion, if he was being rational, he would have saw Bathsheba down there, put himself in her shoes, been able to recognize that, hey, she's married and he's married. He wouldn't want some guy coming and sleeping with his wives, right? He would have also
Hmm.
taken a look at Uriah and put himself in Uriah's shoes and been like, hey, I don't want to be sent to the front line and unalived, so I shouldn't do that to Uriah. Likewise, whenever we look at anything in history, when we look at, like, say, the Nazis should have looked at the perspective through the Jewish lens and been like, hey, I don't want to be put in these camps, and if they're acting rational, they wouldn't have done that. Hold on, my TikTok thing's going off here. I gotta fulfill a puzzle. But go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh,
Fulfill
so
a
I was,
puzzle is
I
crazy
guess
word.
from there I would ask, so correct me if I'm wrong, would you say that your view of morality based on empathy is a view that selflessness is the ideal?
No, no, it's not that selflessness is the ideal. So all empathy is when we look at the situation from all parties involved, and as soon as we realize that we don't want to be in that situation, and we have a justified reason for why we don't put other people in that position, right? So that's all what I mean by empathy. So now there are some things that are like, for example, they are kind of necessary. So this is not where I consider like unnecessary suffering. So for example, if we are put in a position where we have to defend ourselves, right, and we have to defend ourselves, sure, we can take a look and put ourselves in the shoes of the person that's attacking us and be like, well, I wouldn't want to be hit if I was them, and then we just take the hits, right? But that causes that causes us to potentially stop breathing, right? So that would be a necessary harm for me to defend myself. Likewise, if you are a military leader and you're being attacked and you need to send troops to battle in order to protect your people, the empathy works in there. But that means that somebody on the other end did not instigate or did not utilize empathy on their end. Thus, they're attacking you, and they're not being rational in attacking you.
Where does love play into your idea of morality and goodness?
Love.
What place does it have? Is it at the forefront, or?
So love doesn't fit in. Love. And it depends on what we're using as a definition of love. The way I love, say, my family is going to be different than the way I love my friends, which is going to be different than the way I love strangers. I don't think love fits in. I think it's a simple matter of if we're using empathy properly, we put ourselves into the other person's position. We see things from their point of view. We come to the realization that we don't want that to happen to us, so we ought not do it to them. But I don't think love fits in, and I don't think God employs love either.
Okay. So, you seem to be well educated in a lot of the Bible. I would say that the verses where it talks about when Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was, and he replied, the greatest are to love the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, your strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. I think that.
Well,
To
let's
love
stop right
your
there real
neighbor
quick.
as your.
Hold on, let's
Okay.
let's
Yeah.
stop right there real
Of
quick.
course.
So that's where most Christians stop, is right there. What does it say right after that? Like immediately after that? What follows that?
I'd have to pull up the passage
Yeah,
if
it says
you don't mind.
upon these two commandments, and it depends on the translation you use. It'll say hangs or hinges, but it says upon these two commandments hangs all the other commandments. And those two commandments, it's not like Jesus just said, oh, because keep in mind that the story is Jesus was being pinned by the Pharisees in Galilee. They were pinning him down, and they said, hey, out of all the commandments, what are the two greatest? Because they're trying to get him in aha. Now, the two commandments that he said are actually part of the Mosaic law. They're in Torah. They're already there. It's not like he made these up. They're already there. And all he's saying there, because keep in mind, he said there's honor God and love your neighbor. So think you're putting those at the top of a list, and you're drawing a line down the middle. So on one side of the line, you have love God. On the other side, you have love your neighbor. Upon those two commandments hang all the other commandments. So what that means is when you run into a commandment that says, if your daughter does not bleed on her wedding night, if there's no evidence on the cloth, she should be stoned to unalivement. That falls under honoring your God. You're certainly not honoring your neighbor when you do that. You're honoring God. But when the commandment says that if you see your neighbor building, you should help him and build a parapet on his roof, that is love your neighbor. When the law says, when it comes to harvesting your fields, leave a portion of it, that is loving your neighbor. That's not under love your God. When it says sacrifice, provide the sacrifices, and those are under loving your God. So that's all it does, is it doesn't get rid of the commandments, it just categorizes them.
Okay. If you don't mind, could we get back to I was intrigued when I was scrolling just on YouTube. I'm just laying in bed scrolling, and I saw, like, God as a monster or whatever. And so could I hear more of your arguments for that point specifically?
Oh yeah, it would just be that a rational mind is going to utilize empathy in order to make rational decisions. God being a supernatural mind who created everything, at least, and you know this, that's like in the philosophical sense, that's what a God is. And then from there we can branch off into the different gods. So God being all powerful, all knowing, is capable of creating a world in which he could have created a world in which these things did not happen. He could create a world in which earthquakes don't happen, tsunamis don't happen, all these natural disasters that unalive people. Thousands of people, billions of people, hundreds of billions of people have been unalived by these natural disasters. He could have created a sun that does not give us skin cancer. And more importantly, he could not have passed, or he could have made laws, could not have made laws that caused innocent virgins to be unalived via stoning. And when it comes to commandments such as causing David's wives to be raped, he could have actually punished David instead of punishing the wives who didn't do anything. God is not employing empathy in any of these. And in fact, so by not employing empathy, and I believe that empathy is transcendental, that makes God irrational. And I don't believe that being all-knowing, you can be irrational, and thus God just doesn't exist. But this isn't about God's existence. It's about why I think God's a sick fuck. So let's keep it there. So that's why I think God's a sick fuck. He acts irrationally.
When you say that empathy is transcendental, do you mean it is a force that goes above, I guess, where you would believe that God exists? Like it's higher than that being? Okay.
Yep. Because anytime we have any dialect, doesn't matter what it is, we employ empathy. Anytime we make any decision, right, if it's rational, we employ empathy, right? I don't remember, do you have children?
I do not. I am single and no children.
Okay, do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have 2 sisters.
Okay, so when your parents, whenever you, or your siblings would ask to do things, or your parents would dish out punishment, they would employ, hopefully, they would employ empathy, and through that empathy, they would make sure that the punishment actually fit the crime, and that they didn't go overboard, right? And as they were handing out this discipline, hopefully by employing empathy, it was rational. A good example of something not being rational is when you have the parent that abuses their kids, that straight up abuses their kids, and their only answer is, well, it happened to me, I'm doing it to you. But they know when they were going through it, they did not like it. So if they're actually being rational and employing empathy, then when it comes time for them to punish their own kids, they would put themselves in the situation, in the boots of their kids, realize that, hey, when this happened to me, I didn't like it. I'm not going to do that to my kid. Let's find another way to figure out how to discipline.
So do you believe that discipline is necessary, or that it has a place? I would ask.
So I'm a determinist. So due to determinism, so like, because a lot of people, when you get caught up in like determinism, a lot of people be like, well, if you believe that you're just going to act, that it's kind of like predetermined, then punishment is wrong. But what causes, like with determinism, is changes in environment, things that can go into and restructure how chemicals and things are released in our brains. And so it is the case that I don't think I do feel that punishment is necessary in order to keep a good equitable society. I think that if we just don't punish anybody, that we turn into irrationality, and then nobody uses empathy and everything becomes irrational. But by employing empathy, we can ensure that the judgment and the punishments are proportionate to the crime, and we're not going overboard with them.
Okay, so forgive me, I'm just trying to see where our worldviews sort of mirror each other in different ways. So for me, my view of morality is based on either um, submission and surrender to God or rebellion against, and it sounds like yours is either the surrender to the empathy or to the irrationality. Would you say that's
Correct.
accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay.
So my
Okay.
question for you though is you so do you hold the stance of God is the moral objective standard?
I believe that all things come from God, and that ultimately, at a very fundamental, like if you go all the way to the root or the very center of existence, I think that God, the God of the Bible specifically, is the only thing that actually has existence. So, and when Moses was standing at the burning bush and he asked God who he was, and he said, "I am." So I know there's a big movement in the New Age, and in fact, I've only been a Christian for about a year, but I went through this really long and painful personal journey, at least, to get where I am now, where I was, I did
Well,
a lot
real
of
quick.
psychedelics and
Yeah, well,
yeah.
hold on. Yeah. So one, we have to be careful about the term we use when we're talking about D-rugs. Second,
Oh,
it's
yeah, I'm
nothing
sorry.
against
I'm
you.
sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. You're on TikTok or YouTube. You don't know. Second thing is, I don't necessarily like personal testimonies. One, they're personal, they're unfalsifiable. I have no way to know if what you're telling me is true, it's false. And second, a
Of
lot of
course.
these stories are extremely personal, and if you share it, then you're going to open it up to it being impeached. And I'm not saying this is the case for you, but for people in general, is that if this story is what's keeping you on this side of breathing in oxygen every day, I don't want you to tell me it, because I will tear it apart, and I don't want to go shattering people's like dreams that way. So because of that, we just refrain from personal stories here. But yeah, I can understand people utilizing religion, and religion has helped them overcome extremely difficult times in their life. I can completely understand that.
Okay, yeah, we'll steer clear of personal
All
stuff. I
right.
apologize. I'm happy to. I mean, I don't know how long I'm allowed to stay on here, but if you have any other direction you want to take it,
Yeah, I can. I guess.
welcome.
I guess. So back, keeping it back on topic. So since God
Mhm.
is the objective, so you would say then that God is the objective moral standard bearer, right? He is the lawgiver. Everything he gives, everything he says, is objectively moral. Correct?
Yes, because I believe it flows from his essence or from his character. So what we call good is who God is.
Okay.
So
So let's
all
say.
like stuff like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So let's say we'll go to Deuteronomy here then.
Mhm.
We'll stick here. We'll stick here. Because in the story of David and Bathsheba, we learn that it's a few verses late, or few chapters later, in verse 16 or blah, blah, chapter 16, that it was Absalom. It was David's son Absalom. David went on the run. Absalom came and took over his throne, and he's talking with his advisors, and his advisors say, "Hey, we need to show the people that you're now the king. David's on the run. You're here to stay." And so they build a tent, and he brings up David's wives, and he grapes them on the rooftop of the palace in front of all Israel during daylight, fulfilling what God had told David was going to happen. So do you think that God, having David's wives who had nothing to do with David and Bathsheba, nothing at all, do you think that God was justified in having them graped?
Well, that question, I think to answer that, we sort of have to go into what is justice and where does it come from. I believe that God is the standard for justice, so he's incapable of doing anything that is not just. That would be my simple response to that.
So God commanding, or sorry, God foretelling, God, not even foretelling, God saying the punishment for your action is your son is going to sleep with your wives. Meaning the wives, it's not consensual. The wives aren't involved in this. They're being punished for David's sins. And you think that's justified because God said so.
Well, again, I think we have to go to where is the standard for justice. If you don't mind me asking, what is justice in your worldview or your determinism? Where does it?
Yeah. So justice would be utilizing empathy, right? And we put ourselves in the person's shoes, and we put ourselves also in the shoes of the person that was harmed, right? The person that was harmed, and we put ourselves in all those, and then we come to an empathetic resolution in which the punishment is just, it fits the crime, and we're not going overboard. So like in this case, the people that were affected by it were David's wives, who had nothing to do with it, right? So empathy would dictate that the wives face no punishment. They had nothing to do with it. Empathy would dictate that David should be the one punished. And again, according to God's moral law, David should have been stoned to unalivement. So the law, if God was being consistent in his application of his law that he set forth, then it would go to follow that he should have had David stoned to death instead of letting David get off free from it and having his wives graped.
Okay, well, I guess I would make a small counter argument to say that while maybe David didn't physically receive punishment, he did lose his son that he had with Bathsheba. His first son died, even though he pleaded and begged with God for forgiveness, and God said no. Of course, I think that would make a point to your side to say,
what are you?
The baby didn't do anything.
Are you telling me that God also unalived an innocent newborn child by making it suffer for 7 days?
I'm not sure on the time frame, but I know the child did not survive. So I'm trying to be careful with my words. I have to keep.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's justified. I think that in doing so, that was disgusting. That makes God a sick monster. That makes God absolutely disgusting for unaliving not only a child for doing this, but also for causing David's. I mean, because here's the thing, and I guess one of my problems that I kind of have when it comes with Christians, not necessarily saying you, but and other Christians, is when we forget that these were potentially. I'm agnostic to whether or not David existed or not. That I believe David probably existed because we have a whole dynasty named after him. But let's just presuppose David did exist. These are 10 real women that were graped for something that they had absolutely no hand in doing, committing absolutely no crime. And to add further insult to it, it was by Absalom, who is their son. They raised this child. This is their son, and their own family is graping them. Like, I just don't see how this is justified. I think this is absolutely disgusting. I think God is immoral for doing this. God could have done otherwise. God could have stuck to the law and had David stoned, as the law states he should have been. Could have also had both of them stoned, although again, Bathsheba, it depends on where we're drawing the grape line there, and the consensual line. So Bathsheba, maybe, maybe not, but David definitely should have been stoned. God set the law, said the law was, if a man lies with a married woman and is caught, he should be stoned to unalivement. And God just doesn't follow those. God otherwise said, no, I'm not going to follow the law that I'm going to special plead for you, David. We're special pleading for you, and your wives are going to face the brunt of it. And not only that, but do you know how crappy it would make me feel if I had done something and the people who had the authority to do the punishment, instead of punishing me, went after my family? I would feel horrible for that. And so I don't think this is justified. This is justified. I think this absolutely makes God a sick monster. And I don't think he's justified for it. And I think that anybody that supports this is likewise a sick monster as well. Oh, that's not the topic of it. So I can tell you, I'll tell you. It's just I just don't want to have a debate about it tonight. Maybe next week I'll run a topic on that. Yeah. So my belief is I'm believe in the Big Bang. Due to, have you ever heard of the DESI study?
I have not. No.
Yeah, so researchers, so the DESI study stands for Dark Energy Spectroscope. I hate that word. Spectroscope instrument. It's a study that's been going on for about the last 5 or 6 years. It's this big, huge-ass telescope here in the United States, and what it does is it does constant 3D modelings of the known galaxy. And have you ever heard the term redshift?
I don't believe so. I'm not big into science.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So what redshift is if you and I move away from each other, they can measure that through what's called redshift. It's a way light refracts. And so they can look at the redshift and they'll know that we are moving away from each other. So we know that the Big Bang is still happening because we know there's a redshift. We can see the redshift and we see the universe is still expanding. Well, the DESI study, there's been two reports out from it. We're due a third report any time now. But so far, the studies have shown, the results are showing that the dark energy is starting to decelerate, meaning that that's due to gravity because we have, laws of physics. So it's decelerating because of gravity. And if it's decelerating, that means it could eventually stop. And if it stops, that means gravity could eventually pull it back in, which means that within the next 100 billion years, we could potentially be facing a big crunch. And so if it turns out over the next few years, as we get more and more studies from DESI, I believe the new theory will become that the universe goes through a series of big bangs, big crunches, and big bounces. And that big bounce kind of triggers the next big bang. And so I believe that the universe is cyclic, that it's always existed, and that we just, survival comes through a naturalistic approach.
Okay, I guess. Well, let's get back because I don't want to change.
Yeah, give me. Yeah, but I appreciate you coming up. Again. Rethink about the whole God moral thing. I don't think he's moral, but I do appreciate you coming up. Give me a subscription on YouTube, and I go live Sunday through Thursday. And then next week I will run a prove God exists. I'll run that probably next week, and then we could talk about the universe stuff a little bit more. All right. Yep.
So
All right. Let's get back over to TikTok because I've got quite a few people over here at TikTok. Hanji, pick a number: 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5.
3.
All right.
3.
We'll see if this person comes on up.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
All right. He's not loading up. I was just going to tell him to fuck off anyway, so we'll bring up Kari. See if Kari's still here.
Hello, Kari. Can we get your age for TikTok TOS, please? Kari, you are live and on the air. Yasu, Kari.
Kari, you mashugana.
Okay. Well, next guest, I guess.
Yep. We'll bring up E-Rock, Eric. Looks like E-Rock.
All right, Ira, can we get your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, can we have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Yes, 41.
Okay, and are you a believer of the Abrahamic deity?
I am, I guess, I'm a student of everything, I guess. I'm not so much of an opposition, so I'll be brief. But go ahead with your questions. I'm sorry.
Well, this is mainly a question for the believers of the Abrahamic deity, because we want to understand by their worldview why God is a sick monster.
Sure. And and like I said, I'll be brief. I was born into Christianity and so forth, and I just kind of had a little bit of questions for the host, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's keep it brief, but yeah, I can answer some questions.
Okay. Well, for example, like, the stuff that you talk about is truly amazing. I think the biggest thing with, a lot of people that you have here, it's hard to comprehend some of the stuff you talk about because really it's been, really not exposed or talked about
They're
to
not.
a lot of people. You know what I mean? And I always welcome constructive criticism, even to where, I listen to you briefly. I'm like, oh man, that's hard to hear, but sometimes the truth is hard to hear, and as I read the Bible, I have my own questions and my own thoughts that seem like it doesn't jive. I just kind of quickly wanted to talk about, as far as what you mentioned about, a little bit about, the respect to women in Deuteronomy. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. What scripture was it that you were mentioning before so that I could read?
In regards to which one?
So I'm not sure what language I could use as far as, but you were talking about how, well, I know you were talking about slaves previously, and then the other one was the treatment of women.
Oh, Deuteronomy 22. And these I can bring up. I can bring these up. Yeah, these I can bring up, and we can cover these. So in Deuteronomy 22, we'll just bring up the full chapter. So Deuteronomy can sometimes be difficult reading, and I'll show you why here, because oftentimes Deuteronomy is just like shotgunning laws out. And so like right here you'll get like in verse 1, you shall not watch your neighbor's ox or sheep straying away and ignore them. So we go from there to coming down here to verse 13. Then you get the sexual laws concerning relations. So it's going to be verse 13 on. But what we get here, essentially what these ones here are. So, oh, sorry, just opened up my MSI. So let's close that down. But essentially these parts here is talking about suppose a man marries a woman and then the guy lies, and so in Israelite culture, what they would do is they would marriages were consummated by having sex. That's what consummated the marriage. That was the marriage. And so essentially what's going on is a man has sex with a woman. Now, women didn't have a choice in this. It was all arranged. The woman didn't have a choice in it. And so the man in this highlighted part is lying. He's going to go and say, hey, I slept with her and she's not a virgin. So and in this highlighted part, the man is lying. It makes it clear this is what happens when the man lies. So what they'll do is they'll go to the city of the gate, they'll lay out a blanket, and it's the blanket they had sex on. And if there's blood on the blanket, that means she was a virgin, and the man gets fined by paying 100 shekels of silver to her father. Right. However, we'll go down here to verse 20. This is if he's telling the truth. There was no blood on the cloth. If, however, this charge is true, that evidence of the young woman's virginity was not found, then they shall bring the young woman out to the entrance of her father's house, and the men of her town shall stone her to death. And like one of the problems with this verse is we know that only 43% of women actually bleed the first. Yeah. So why did God create a human body knowing that they're going to be stoned to unalivement? Why did God create a body like that? Why did God create a law knowing that innocent women?
And it sounds more a man-made law than a God law.
Exactly, 100%.
You know, but then the thing is, then you would, you know, Christian or in people who, you know, believe in the Bible would have to say that's, you know, would have to say, well, if God said it, then that has to be so. But that just doesn't make sense in the sense of if an all-knowing God. Now, you know, the thing you could rebuttal is, well, God is God, and you had to. We are just mere mortals of human beings, so we have to follow whatever our Creator says, but doesn't jive with Him being completely holy. I mean, like I said, I'm not a theologian, or I don't know, you know, I'm not a pastor or anything. But, you know, and I'll what I briefly what doesn't jive well with me is the fact of free will. You know, we can choose right, we can choose wrong, but if we can choose wrong, then that means, for me, God programmed us the ability to know what wrong is, in the sense of, you know, if I choose to lie to you, I didn't make that. I mean, it's in me to, if it's something where He created me, for me, I would simply say that God gave me the ability to lie. I don't know, I guess that's kind of how I'm starting to view a little bit. And like I said, I'm deep diving into that. My question, do you believe in any type of faith? Not necessarily even Christian faith, but like, you know, Hinduism, Buddhism, or do you feel like everything's just more, you know, I guess?
No, so my personal belief, so the syllogism that I usually have for the existence of any deal, and are you familiar with philosophy at all?
A little bit, yeah.
All right, so do you know what a syllogism is?
No.
All right, so a syllogism is like a form of argumentation. So essentially you come with a conclusion, right? So if I'm going to say like rocks are hard, and that's my statement, well, I have to give an argument for that, right? And so then I give those come in the form of what's called premises, and that makes a syllogism. So my argument is that God just doesn't exist, right? And how we get there is that God, because in order for God to exist, the syllogism would actually be God's not necessary. And since God's not necessary, when we look at Occam's razor, if God's not necessary, due to Occam's razor, we just take him out of the equation because he's not necessary. Essentially is how it goes. And my argument for that would be, premise one is that any creation requires a change of states. Premise two, a change of states, change of states is progression from one state to another. Premise 3, progression from one state to another is time, and thus, in order to have, a change of states, in order to create, time had to have already existed. We do know that through general relativity, time and space are intertwined. Thus, time space has just always existed. Thus, God is not necessary. Thus, God doesn't exist due to Occam's razor.
Gotcha.
Now,
Well,
how
like I said,
syllogisms, well, just real quick, and how syllogisms work, just in case you decide to start debating a little bit more, how syllogisms work is you don't argue with the conclusion, you argue with the premises. So the premises are like climbing a ladder or walking up a set of stairs, and the top of it is the conclusion. So if you agree with all of the premises, then the conclusion follows. So you can argue with premises, you just can't argue with the conclusion.
Okay. I'll. I wrote some of this stuff down, so I'll definitely follow. You have, I guess, what if I was starting out? Because the thing is I guess what feels that I need to have a spiritual connection, and that necessarily has to be the Christian God. That's the most, in the United States, that's kind of the most widely viewed as, you would lead to. But do you have anything that you would recommend as far as a book, I guess a direction, I should say?
So there's 2 books that I recommend. So I'm also a mythicist. I don't even believe the natural Jesus existed. One book that first books that I would recommend to read is the Bible. I would recommend reading the Bible cover to cover. And you can skip the genealogies, except Jesus's genealogy. Jesus's genealogy is important in both Matthew and Luke. The other genealogies, they're not necessarily important. But Jesus's genealogy is important, especially in verses 11 and 12. There's a person mentioned in there. When you go study that person, you'll find that he was cursed. He was kicked off the throne of Israel, and his uncle Zedekiah was put on the throne. So that's only so Jesus wouldn't fulfill anyways. But read the Bible. Slap my microphone. Read the Bible cover to cover from a non-biased perspective. That's something that Christians haven't done. Most Christians have not read the Bible. Once you have read that, one book that I would recommend is Crucifying the Bible. This is one book I would recommend. I would also recommend reading a book called The Fallibility of the Bible. That's a book that I would read. It goes over all the different issues with the Bible. That's a book that I would read. And if you are wondering if Jesus existed or if Paul existed, I would go ahead and probably read some Nina Lifsey. Nina Lifsey is a professor. She teaches at the University of Oklahoma. She has a book that she just released. It's a scholarly book, so it's a bit more expensive, and scholarly books are kind of difficult to read. But then you could also read Christ Before Jesus. Jaron, and I don't know if Jaron is in here. He was in here earlier. But Jaron, the author of the book, if you follow Christ Before Jesus here on TikTok, Jaron goes live almost every day, and it talks all about Jesus not existing and the reasons why they drew that conclusion. And then if you feel like you do need spirituality, if you need an anchor point, I would start with reading the text of whatever religion intrigues you. I first make sure it's not a closed religion. If it's a closed religion, you don't practice it unless you have permission from the people who do practice it. Read their text again from a non-biased source, and then move from there. Also, go into my link tree. If you go to my link tree, same with YouTube, go to my link tree. There is a Discord there for the Deconstruction Junction. We're a huge deconstruction community. Not all of us are atheists. Hanji down here is a member of it, and Hanji is a theist. We've got plenty of theists that are in there, and it's a nice, amazing community.
Nice, man. You know what? It speaks volume on your part you may get a lot of criticism about what you talk about, and it speaks volume. For the first thing you told me was to go read the Bible. As
Mm-hmm.
much as you have truth and facts, I mean that really, I mean, speaks in my mind that you speak from the sense of facts. So I appreciate your time. I'll hopefully I can talk to you more, and I'll join your Discord.
Yep, sounds good. And shoot me a message, and I'll shoot you a link to it if you have a hard time finding it in the link tree. Shoot me a message, and I'll shoot you a link to it.
Okay, will do, man.
Oh,
Have a good night.
and some other creators, real quick. Some other creators to follow. Follow Deconstruction Zone. That's Justin. Follow Joyful Apostate. You can follow Thinker. The tag for that is going to be N Growth.
Okay.
There is Ria and a few others, and you'll see them all in there as well. And I don't know how late you stay up. If you stay up pretty late, there is Daniel. Daniel lives in Australia, and when you spell Daniel, you spell Daniel but put a space between all the names.
Oh, okay.
Or all the letters. Give Daniel a follow. He does extremely calm, chill debates. If you see him getting angry, like somebody done messed up.
All right, sounds good, my man. Thank you very much.
All right. Yep, you take care.
You too.
All right, let's give E-Rock some massive, massive W's. And we're going to go ahead and bring up NC.
Hey,
Can you have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Yeah, 37.
I already know he's a believer of the Abrahamic deity. Why is your God a sick monster?
I mean, by your own standards. I'd like to go back on a lot of things you were just talking about, like plenty of them. David and Bathsheba. You said something about
say her name again. Say her name again.
I'm a little bit dyslexic, so do you really want to like go there, buddy, and like start picking at the way that I can't pronounce things that I've read in the Bible the same way you pronounce them?
Well, it's Bathsheba.
Right.
I just was making sure you were.
But I mean,
you know what it is.
Is that okay for you to do that on this live?
Oh yeah. If somebody. Well, one, I didn't know that you were dyslexic, but two, if somebody are mispronouncing names, we correct it.
Proceeding forward, can we agree to just not like stop each other with like little tiny pronunciations of words, because that might.
Well, I was just making sure I heard it correctly, but yeah, we can move on. We can move forward and not do that.
Can we? Okay, good. Yeah, and you also you brought up that the verse about God not making himself seen to non-believers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory too.
Oh, I didn't bring that up. Well, hold on. I didn't bring that up. Somebody else brought that up. I didn't bring it up. Somebody else brought it up.
Right. And then you also, you want to talk about, like the universe and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's three different ways, three things we could talk about that you just touched up on, and I'll let you pick.
Yeah, so we'll go back over my syllogism. We'll just prove that God's not necessary.
No,
God.
Those three things that I just mentioned is what I would like to talk about. I don't really want to have you just keep going on like you do. Like, I want to pick up on what that guy on his shortcomings is what I want to do.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the existence of God, because I think I can cook you there pretty easy.
No, there were three things that I just mentioned that the last guest.
Yeah, and you mentioned the universe. Did you not?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, we'll go with the universe. So,
Yep.
So you're a firm believer of science?
Well, let me give you an argument, right? Right, that God's not necessary, thus God doesn't exist because of Occam's razor. I'm going to give you a set of premises. You've heard my premises, right? So I'm going to give you the premises, and then you can argue with them. Right? So
I'm
premise
talking about
one,
more so like the Big Bang, because somebody really asked, "What are your beliefs?" and you brought up the Big Bang, and that's
I
only
believe in
thing
the Big
really...
Bang.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So you are a firm believer of science, and you need scientific evidence to believe things. Am I right in saying that?
Scientific evidence makes things more probable. Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with quantum mechanics and quantum theory?
A little bit, but what about it?
Are you aware that some very intelligent astrophysicists pretty much agree that parallel universes might be a thing?
Yes. Parallel universes might be a thing, sure.
Of infinite parallel universes?
Oh, yeah, sure. There could be infinite.
Okay. Of infinite possibilities?
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
And in one of those universes, could God exist?
No.
Wow. So it's oh wow. So I think I just exposed you big time, dude. So infinite possibilities.
Do you want me to give you a reason why? Do you want me to give you a reason why?
Infinite possibilities, but there's one exception in your book, and that there's no God. And I think right now you gotta step back and look at yourself, because
yeah. Do you want me to give you well, I know you're grandstanding. I know you're grandstanding right now, but let me give you the argument for that. I have an argument for it. Let me give you the argument. Quit grandstanding.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So all creation entails a change of states. Yes or no?
Who turned off my microphone?
I did. Because you were grandstanding. You were grandstanding. And I don't want you to grandstand. So again,
ask me a question and then turn off my mic.
When you said okay, I didn't turn it off. So Hanji might have. I don't know. But anyway, so P1.
Or Cyber.
Oh, okay. So I don't know who did it. So P1 is going to be all creation entails a change of states. P2. A change of states requires a progression of one state to another. P3, the progression of states is time. Thus, all creation requires time. We do know that through relativity, that time space are intertwined. Thus, time has always existed. Space has always existed. Thus, going through a naturalistic process, the world has everything we expect through a naturalistic process. Thus, God is an unnecessary step in that process. Due to Occam's razor, we take the simplest state. God is not necessary. Thus, God doesn't exist.
Right. So that's your logical deconstruction of God. But what I'm saying,
which premise do you disagree with? Which premise do you disagree with?
I disagree with.
I'll ask for a second time. Which premise do you disagree with?
The premise that I disagree with is the one where you said that infinite possibilities, infinite universes could exist.
That wasn't a premise. That wasn't a premise. That was a conclusion.
No God.
That was a conclusion. That was a conclusion.
There's no God.
Yes, that was a conclusion. I gave you the premises as to why. So now, which premise do you disagree with?
We're at an impasse here. Infinite possibilities.
Hold on. Can you tell me what the can you tell me what the difference between a conclusion and a premise is?
The premise is like the beginning of the argument. The conclusion is what you come through.
No, the premises are the argument. The conclusion is the conclusion. It's what the argument concludes.
Can you explain? Can you explain a little further why you believe that infinite universes, parallel universes, is possible, but there is no? But
I'll do it. I'll do it for
any one of those.
So I'll do it for I'll do it for So I'll do it for a second time. We'll do it for a second time. All creation. So in any of those universe, all creation, right, entails a change of states. A change of states is the progression of from one state to another state. The progression of all change entails, all creation entails a change of states. A change of states is the progression of one state to another. The progression of states is time, right? Thus, you can't have creation in any of these worlds, in any of these universes. You can't have creation without time, right? And we do know that time space are interlocked together, right? Thus, we would expect a naturalistic world in all of those
That's
states.
debatable if space and time are interlocked together. Actually, that's actually highly debatable.
Oh, who debates that? Can you name any physicist that debates that today?
Yeah, like the ones that I'm talking about. When in the realm.
Hold on. That's not what I asked. That's not what I asked. I asked go name a physicist that believes that. Go ahead.
I can't name one off the top of my head. I guess you're right.
Yeah, you can look it up. Go look it up. Go find one. Go find me any physicist that doesn't believe that time and space are interlocked together.
So, but you believe that parallel universes can infinitely exist, but
Night Fury, he's trying.
And not one of those universes could there be a God.
Do I need to tell you for a third time the reasoning why?
It doesn't make any sense because you're saying infinite universes, infinite possibilities, but it is impossible for this one thing.
Yeah, so
there is a God in one of the universes.
Yeah, so give me the which premise, because this argument would apply in all the infinite universes. So go ahead and tell me which premise you disagree with, and we'll argue it.
I disagree with your premise that you have already stated. Parallel
That's the conclusion. That's the conclusion. That's not the premise. That's the conclusion. I gave you the argument for that.
Can I walk you through it? And maybe we're on the wrong page. Maybe we're on two different pages. Very simple. I'll try and break it down to like 3 or 4 questions. Do you believe that parallel universes could exist?
Wait, say that again.
Do you believe that parallel universes could exist?
Yes.
Okay. Parallel universes being infinite.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Meaning infinite possibilities.
Yes.
But there's no possibility in any one of those universes that there could be a God.
Correct. Absolutely. And I'll give you the argument for that. I'll give you my reasoning for that. I'll give you my reasoning for that. My reasoning is all creation entails a change of states. A change of states is the progress of one state to another state. The progress of states is time. So in all of those universes, time and space being intertwined have always existed. Thus, there's no need for a God. That's the argument.
You don't see a need for a God. So you've killed God in your mind.
Yeah, argue with my premises. I gave you an argument for why I don't believe with it. Engage with the argument.
I mean, we're obviously not going to agree on this one. So
yeah, because you don't know where you're at. You came in here and you got concussed. You've been waiting in that guest box, like cranking.
Yeah, but I mean, you're saying
cranking your yerkin.
You're saying
you've been cranking your yerkin.
Exist, but no God.
You've been cranking your yerkin over there in the guest box,
infinite possibilities, but no God.
And when the white juices came out, you concussed yourself with them. You don't know where you're at.
You don't understand the Old Testament at all, obviously.
Did you just say the white Jesus? Damn cyber.
You obviously don't understand. Like, imagine like reading the whole book and then missing the point, and then feeling the need to go and postulate to everybody online.
Oh, what point did I miss? What point did I miss?
You obviously don't. Well, the point of the whole Bible, obviously. Like, obviously, you don't understand the story with David, and how am I supposed to say it to please you?
Bathsheba. What didn't I understand about it? What didn't I understand about it?
You could restate it so I'm not misstating it.
Yeah, it's a case that David got Bathsheba pregnant. She was married. He's married. And when he found out she was pregnant, he sent her husband to the front lines to have him killed. This is what the words of the Bible says. If we need to go read it, we will. And Nathan comes. Wait, we need to go read it?
Nathan is my name, by the way. I was named after. So I don't know if you want to.
Well, no, I don't care about your name. I'm not even going to
Find him
remember
a
you.
David.
Like, I'm not even going to remember you like 30
Well, you can
seconds after
remember
you
that,
get kicked off the
that
live.
my mom prayed for a son and she didn't get one and she miscarried, and then God told her she will have a son.
Hold on, Hanji. Hanji. I think this guy's my son.
That's why she named me Nathan.
He's your son?
I think he's my son. Oh no.
Oh,
Fuck.
shit.
That one
so he's
night.
Not Jewish.
Buddy, I'm older than you. I just
So
look
he's
younger
half
because
Jewish.
God is with me. I'm actually older than you and Hans.
He
but
is
God,
older
I look
than
younger.
me. It's true, he is
I'm
older.
37, and I look younger because God is with me.
So yeah. So the question is right. So Dave, well, not the question. So anyway, so instead of unaliving David, like he should have, because that's what God said in the law, was that if you commit adultery, you get stoned to unalivement. Instead of doing that, he said, you know what, David, because you did this in broad daylight, I'm going to do this, or sorry, since you did this in secret, I'm going to do this in broad daylight. Your neighbor, he's going to come and take your wives before your eyes, and he's going to grape them on the roof. And that's what happened in chapter 16. Absalom came and graped his wives. Yep, and that makes God. Yep, and that makes God a sick fuck.
By your own standards. Do you know why? Do you know why he didn't unalive David?
Yeah, why didn't he unalive David?
Because he made a covenant promise to the Israelites that he would send his son to die for their sins through the lineage of David.
Oh, so why couldn't that have came true through Absalom? Or the child of Bathsheba
why don't you pray to God with an open heart and
hold on. Or to the child of Bathsheba and David that God killed, right? That could have literally came true through anybody else.
You can pray to God if you want and ask about the kid. They're all in heaven.
They'll give you the prayer? Answer. Well, prayer is. Do you want a syllogism for why prayer is useless?
I mean, you could say it. It's not really gonna waver me in my faith, but
yeah.
Sure,
let me ask you a question. If something is in God's will, right? So let's say that a child who has cancer, if it is in God's will to save the child, will God save the child? Yes or no?
Hey, hold on. Let me just Dusty.
Well, no, you're gonna answer the question, you scumbag. Answer the question.
My mom.
Yeah. So scumbag, you're gonna answer the question. Right? You're going to answer the question. You've been employing the 5 Ds of Dodge debate this entire live, but I need you to lock in and focus. So the question is, right, if it is God's will to cure the child who has cancer, will that child be cured? Yes or no?
Yeah.
All right. Now, if it is not the will of God to cure that child with cancer, will the child be cured?
Nope.
All right. Now, let's say the same things, but let's insert prayer. If I pray and it is not God's will for the child to be cured of cancer, will the prayer work? That's a yes or no, buddy. Go ahead, answer.
You can't change God's will. You can't change God's will.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You can't change God's will, so prayer does nothing. It does nothing.
Prayer.
It's worthless.
Transactional prayer.
No, you literally just said, right? Go pray about it. Sincerely go pray about it.
Yeah,
but prayer does nothing. But prayer does nothing. Prayer does nothing. If it is God's will that I know of his existence, then his will allow me to know of his existence. If it is not his will, then it won't come to pass. Regardless of how much I pray.
Whether you pray about it or not, exactly.
that's not how prayer works. And you don't
Prayer doesn't work. You just admitted yourself. Prayer doesn't work.
Deals that I would never pray to God, hey, save this one person or else it's not, you're not real. That's tempting God. That's not.
Is that what I? Hold on. Is that what I said to say in the prayer? That's not what I said to say in the prayer.
I mean,
now you're straw manning what I said, and now you're changing completely what I said. That's not what I said.
No. You're saying tempt God with your prayers.
That's not what I said. Hold on. That's not what I said. Hold on. Yeah. So again, what I said is, and I quote, I asked you if it is God's will for a child to be healed, will the child be healed? And you said yes. And then I asked you, if it is not God's will that the child be healed, will the child be healed? You said no. Then I said, if I pray, not mentioning anything about transactions, I'm just saying if I pray for a child to be healed, but it is already God's will that the child not be healed, does the prayer do anything? And you said no. Thus, you, again, don't even realize what you're saying. You're fucking concussed. Like, you're almost knocked out. You don't even know where you're at. Like, go get heavier gloves on next time you decide to box.
Calm down and breathe, brother. Calm down and breathe.
It's so funny how, like, you were literally doing a selfless prayer at that by mentioning the child who is unaliving from something that their God ingested in them to begin with. It wasn't a selfish prayer at all. It was to help someone else.
No, that's a transactional prayer. A transactional prayer.
So the people who are praying for their children in cancer, Excuse me, I'm fucking speaking. But when those parents, I don't give a shit, suck my cock. Anyways, so you're telling me that those parents, hey, yeah, you are. So those parents that are in those cancer hospitals praying every day for their child to be cured from a disease that's literally eating them from the inside out, that's tempting God.
To engage in transactional prayers is tempting God. To say if you don't save this child, then you must not be real.
No one's saying that. They're asking God to save their child.
Yeah, who said any? Yeah, who in this conversation outside of you has said anything about saying do this or I'm an atheist? I never said that. I didn't say that. Hanji never said that. You're trying to imply it. You're trying to strongman it into the argument, and that's not what either of us said.
I love how Hanji gets to get on when you get all hot and heated. It means I'm working whenever she starts talking.
No, and Hanji,
guys that have bigger egos and bigger dicks than you, you're just compensating for one of them. I'll let you guess which one, Pumpkin.
And he can't be my child. He's too dumb.
I concur that statement. Woo. Anyways, Jug, can we have your age for TikTok POS, please?
Hello, I'm 34.
Okay, and are you a believer of the Abrahamic deity?
Is this Yahweh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Why is Yahweh a sick monster?
That's not my point. Why should I answer that?
Because that's the topic.
We just want to see if you agree or disagree with the statement.
Okay, well, I had a question. The points you were making earlier, how is that God's doing and not man and man's will?
Oh, because God said he was going to do it.
Wait, it depends on which topic. Are we talking about the cancer? Because cancer is natural. Even dinosaurs have cancer.
No, like David's wives.
Oh yeah, we'll go read it. God said he was going to do it. Yeah, God said he was going to do it. Do you want to go read it again?
I'd like to see where it is.
Yeah, well,
it's
let
his
me
first
get it
time
brought
up there,
back up.
Cyber.
Yeah, I'll get it brought up. So you're familiar with the story of David and Bathsheba, right?
A little bit. I'm not sure.
I need to run a topic that says David's wives were done dirty or something. I don't know. So where we're going to get here, let me get this highlighted for you. Get this highlighted in red.
You might as well should make an account as many times as it tells you to log in.
I should. All right, get this brought up. So, the story goes, David, they're at war with the Ammonites. David is on the palace while they're at war, and he sees Bathsheba bathing. And he likes her, and so he has the servants bring her to the palace, and he gets her pregnant. The issue is she's married, he's married, and she's pregnant. So this is a big issue. So he ends up sending her husband, Uriah, to the front lines where he is unalived. And he sent him there with the intention of him being unalived. And then David married her. And Nathan comes and starts chastising him for having Uriah unalived by the swords of the Ammonites. And then in verse 11, thus says the Lord, I will raise up trouble against you from within your own house. So the important thing here is from within your own house. This is what's important here. And I will take your wives before your eyes and give them to your neighbor, and he shall lie with your wives in broad daylight. For you did it secretly, but I will do this thing before all of Israel and in broad daylight. So God says, I am going to take your wife, and somebody from your house, your own house, is going to rape them. Now, when we go to chapter 16, we read about this happening. So what happens in chapter 16, David's son Absalom comes in trying to usurp the throne, and they talk about it here. Then when Absalom said, Ahithophel, give us your counsel, what shall we do? Ahithophel said to Absalom, go into your father's concubines, the one he has left to look after the house, and all of Israel will hear that you have made yourself odious to your father, and the hands of all who are with you will be strengthened. So they pitched a tent for Absalom upon the roof, and Absalom went into his father's concubines in the sight of all of Israel. And now in those days, the counsel that Ahithophel gave was as if one consulted the oracle, right? The oracle of God. So they talked with an oracle, or potentially a prophet, almost somebody who talks to God. So all the counsel of Ahithophel was esteemed by both David and Absalom. So this is where David, or God, is quite literally causing David's wives to be raped. Does that answer your question?
That's interesting. Where is that found?
Yeah, so it's going to be in 2 Samuel chapter. This is chapter 16, but you can go to chapter 12 as well.
So basically, First Samuel, correct?
No, it's 2 Samuel.
Okay, so 2 Samuel chapter 12 through 17.
Yeah. You don't need to read all of it. It's really those two verses that focus on that. You could read all that if you wanted. It's not necessary for the story, though. But yeah, you could read it all if you want. What you will never hear me do, and chat, this is something I want you to notice as you go into the lives of Christians, especially. What you will never hear me do is only read this one verse. I want you to read all of 2 Samuel. Read it all. But yeah, you can start on chapter 12. You can read before it if you want. But read it. Go read it for yourself. And give me a follow. Join our Discord server. It's the Deconstruction Junction. Join the Discord server. There's a lot of amazing creators there. Ones that I would recommend you following if you like to hear these Bible stories. And also on YouTube. A lot of these creators you can find on YouTube. Look up the Deconstruction Zone. That's with Justin. Joyful Apostate. If you're deconstructing and you need like more of a discussion group, Crystal J, give Crystal a follow. There is Thinker and Growth. And do you remember what Thinker's YouTube name is?
I think it's
something
but
Thinker.
I do know that she does verses and vibes with Sebastian as well.
Yes. Archthinker, yes, Archthinker. Archthinker on YouTube. Yep, Archthinker on YouTube. And yeah, give these people a follow and just listen to them. You'll hear them come out. You'll hear Christians crashing out on them all night long. But I appreciate you coming up.
Yeah, thanks for answering the question.
Yep, not a problem.
Oh, thank you for being respectful.
Let's give that guest, I didn't catch the name, let's give that guest some
Jug.
massive W's.
I'll just go with Jug.
Jug.
And
this will probably be...
Jugs.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I guess this is going to be... Hold on, just 1 second, Joe. This is going to be the last guest of the night?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming? Okay.
I'm gonna after this one, I'll try to check video. Oh, yeah, this will be the last one.
Okay. All right, Joe. Can we have your age for TikTok TOS, please?
Joe, you are on the Hanji show.
Welcome to the Coliseum. No, but seriously. Joe, are you here with us? Yasu, Joe! Zeus
I didn't drop him.
He must have had a
Zeus took
nice
him.
ass. Yep.
Oh. And I think... Oh, we have PAX coming up.
It's a PAX! PAX! How are you, darling?
I am so good. How are you guys?
Good, dear. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to come up and say hello and say hi, Cyber, and say hi, Hanji, and do a little bit of a tiny promo for my live. I'm so sorry, but
no, you're good.
I'm trying to spread the news. I started a live, and it's called PAX Reads Dictionary, and we talk about how words need to mean words and what they mean, and we talk about the power of language and etymology and how language has been used to control us, but we can use it to free each other now and ourselves. And like yesterday we looked up the word I already forgot what it was, but like the other day we talked about the word harm for like 5 hours. But I got a 6-month subscriber today. Grana Zana gave me a 6-month subscription.
Let's give Grana Zana some W's. Grana Zana is amazing. Let's give Grana Zana some massive W's.
But yeah, we're a really small little group right now, but we're really like talking about change, and we're talking about effective communication and building community and mutual aid and boundaries. We're a boundaries forward space, and we're all learning how to use them and celebrate them together. So it's gonna be fun, or it is fun, and I'm enjoying it. And so yeah, that just wanted to give a little promo for that.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you coming up, and we haven't set a date yet, but Pax and I, we don't know if it's going to be monthly or weekly, but Pax and I are also going to be doing a podcast ourselves, and we might do it where it's on here. Maybe we'll alternate them weekly from his account to my account. We haven't decided yet how that'll work, but yeah, that's in the works as well. Good night,
Yeah,
Night
it's gonna be
Fury.
great.
And
It's gonna
yeah,
be great.
so real quick, everybody that's on TikTok right now, what I need you guys to do right now is, one, give Pax a follow, give Hanji a follow. But what else I also need you to do is hop off here, go to YouTube, give me a follow on YouTube, give Hanji a subscribe on YouTube, and I don't know if Pax is on YouTube, but go over to YouTube, give us follows. We don't know what the future of this app, of what the clock app is going to be here within the next few days. I will be, Pax Shirley, go give Pax Shirley a follow. But go over there, give that a follow, so that way then, whatever the future of this app might be, we can still stay in communication. This is not stopping. This movement is getting bigger and bigger. When I first joined the Deconstruction Junction, when I first joined it, there was maybe 300-400 people in there when I joined. And that was like last summer, last fall. And we are growing. We are quickly becoming one of the biggest deconstruction discords that there is. We're growing. I know Benny Boy, who runs the Deconstruction Junction, has bigger plans. I know I'm not stopping. Justin's not stopping. Crystal's not stopping. We're all making moves over to other platforms. So get over to YouTube, give us all a follow. And most of us, if you're in the Deconstruction Junction, you can go under the YouTube tab in there and you can find each of us. Our YouTubes are posted. Give us all follows. And with that said, I will, let me make sure I didn't get any, I didn't notice any subscriptions, but let me check. Dougal did give a subscription that was called out earlier, but I want to make sure that I called it out. Dougal, thank you so much for the subscription. And it looks like that's it for subscription. Everybody who's been gifting, I'm going to butcher this first name. So, Nicole, thank you so much for the 56 of the TikToks. I appreciate it. AK, thank you for the roses. E-Rock, thank you for the gifts. Like, everybody that's been gifting packs. Kazak, Celine, Chet, just everybody, Liz, Jason, everybody, thank you so much for the gifts.
Lassie is another one. She's the one that's been giving you the TikTok gifts just recently.
Yes. So thank you all so much. And you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. We'll see where this goes. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think I got a beaning last time I did this. This will let me know if there's a beaning. And real quick up here on TikTok, we're gonna drop the panel real quick.
Plug in, log on, let's break it down.